Hey guys, so in this video, I really just wanted to get a little bit more in depth in the Ultimate Hunter build I put on my TikTok the other day. If you want the build, if you just want the mods and the a quick rundown, go check out my TikTok. This video is going to be a little bit more in depth and a little bit more explanations of why I'm running certain things over others. And it's also going to give you an option to alter the build slightly to more fit your playstyle. Right, so this is going to be a little longer one. I am going to put a dim link somewhere and a TikTok link if you just want the build. However, if you do decide not to watch the video and you just want the build, please leave a like, maybe even subscribe, and stuff like that. So first, for our stats, we're going to be maxing out resilience and maxing out discipline. Resilience is usually just kind of commonplace now in Destiny. You just want max resilience. And discipline is basically just like the next best stat. I know a lot of people will just say recovery is the next best stat, especially if you're a warlock or a titan. However, with the build we're going with now, we have plenty of ways to get health back and plenty of defensive mechanisms to stop us from taking damage, stop us from dying. So I really don't think the recovery is necessary. If you can, I would get a triple 100 on mobility, just because it makes you move faster and also reduces your class cooldown if you can't get that infinite going between your melee and your class ability. So that's really just self-explanatory. So for exotic armor piece, we are going to go with Celestial Nighthawk because it pairs great with obviously Still Hunt, and then we are using Marksman. So that's where a big DPS comes from, right? Whenever people ask, well, what does your build do? Why is this the Ultimate Hunter? Well, because it has the big DPS of Celestial Nighthawk, Solar Hunter, and also has the really great neutral game that Arc, Melee, and Combination Blow offer. Armor is pretty self-explanatory. Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun fires one high damage shot. We're going to go ahead and look at the mods real quick. So you have your normal stat mods. I also have the Artifice mod to get my discipline up to 101. So Stasis Siphon can be changed with whatever your main weapon is. So whatever main weapon you're using to kill things, kill red bars, kill small yellow bars, that's what you want your siphon to be. Hands on, gain bonus super energy on melee kills. 90% of the time you are going to be meleeing things. If you are in high content like GMs or something, maybe you can't get hands on to activate. Well, that's why you switch to your siphon and get your orbs that way. On our hands, we have heavy-handed, focusing strike, and fastball. Fastball, I feel like everyone just runs it because it's the generic one cost for the mod energy. And we are overall a melee focused build. Our neutral game is very strong, so that's why we have heavy-handed for orbs and then class ability for powered melee attack. Now, a lot of people are going to say focusing strike is useless because your powered melee kills give you your class energy back. However, there are instances where you do not have your class ability and something will take your powered melee kill. Now, there are also instances where you get enough orbs or you get enough elemental pickups where you get your melee back before your class ability if you ruin that infinite, right? It's okay, it happens. That's why we run Focusing Strike, because your dodge is originally what gets everything started. It's not your melee, your class ability is what gets everything started. Chest armor, just run your resistances, whatever content you are in. If you're dealing with a lot of Fallen, switch to maybe 2 arcs, 1 void, or maybe 2 arcs, 1 solar. If you're running against a lot of melee like knights and stuff, maybe change up to a concussive or a melee resistance mod. It's really just based on preference and what piece of content you're doing. So, leg armor, we're going with Better Already. Your health begins to immediately regenerate. The reason we go with Better Already versus the one that just gives us health straight back is because that's what Combination Blow does. That's why we don't go with the other one. That's why we go with Better Already. That's why it kind of supplements your low regen, your low recovery, because you get health regen, and then Combination Blow also gives you health back. So Solar Weapon Surge, we're using Still Hunt. No other argument. So that's it. Your machine gun is your ad clear. Your machine gun is not your DPS dealer. It is Still Hunt. So Reaper, kind of every build, no matter what, you run Reaper. Powerful Attraction. This lets you kind of, take away from what you have to focus on, right? You don't want to have to focus on picking up orbs and all that shit. So just have Powerful Attraction. You're literally dodging infinitely. you know, just get that extra little, you know, collection. I promise you, if you run Powerful Attraction, you will have your super and Still Hunt activated so much more consistently than you'd expect. Bomber reduces grenade cooldown when you're using your class ability. You're infinitely using your class ability, so makes sense. So for guns, we are using the Velpicula, shoot to loot, and explosive payload. The reason we use shoot to loot, and this was the Banshee roll that was sold like 3 months ago or something like that. The reason we use shoot to loot is because Cade's Retribution activates on orbs, and it also, whenever you collect an orb and it is stowed, it still gives you progress towards that bar. And you know, bars and orbs of power or orbs of light is still just good. Still Hunt, this is your DPS dealer. Celestial Nighthawk, not much to explain, right? Now, your heavy. Your heavy can change depending on the piece of content you want, and change depending on what you want out of your heavy. For mine, I just want massive fucking ammo reserves and decent damage for things I can't just fucking run up and punch, right? Some knights are going to be too big for me. Some ogres are going to be too big for me. So I need something to kind of whittle them down to then go in, freeze, melee, get my infinite going. Since you're running Solar Surge, you can run the solar machine gun. I just don't have it. Fuck Trials. If you have it, great. I think you should run it. You can run Apex. I have a Reconstruction bait and switch. You know, if you want to go massive on boss damage, I'm talking about like you don't fucking care about ad clear. You're just going to rely on your melee for ad clear. Go Apex Predator with Still Hunt. You're going to be slapping. Also, the reason you want to run Reconstruction on Apex is because, you know, you're popping with Cade's Retribution. That's your one bullet to proc bait and switch. Switch to your Vulpicula, shoot once, switch back to your Apex, and then just unload, right? So that's pretty much the overall armor and weapon choices, right? Obviously, there are a lot of things that you can change. Stasis Siphon you can change. Resistances you can change. Your Surge you can change if you want to lean more into your heavy or primary, depending on what it is, but I recommend not because Still Hunt just kind of slams. And that's about it, really. Your Ghost mod, nothing to change. Run a Discipline Armor. If you don't understand why, maybe I'll make a little TikTok for it. For our Artifact, now guys, this build does not rely on Artifact. No matter what season you watch this video in, if you time travel fucking 10 years in the past, doesn't matter what your artifact is. Now, it does help that you have Overload Hand Cannon, so that Velpicula just synergizes. You pick up a Orb of Power to make you Radiant. I'm going to explain why we pick this artifact perk and one of our other stasis, or not stasis fragments, our Prismatic fragments. So we have I also run Threaded Blast because we're running a Strand LMG, so it kind of, a little bit more damage, a little bit more AoE, right? Now, gain increased grenade melee damage while Transcendent. Usually, if you want to enter an encounter and you want to start your infinite, you're going to pop Transcendence, you're going to run in, dodge, punch something, they're going to explode, and then there you go, you have your infinite. While you have Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, your melee recharges faster and deals increased damage. While you are Amplified or Radiant, your grenade recharges faster and deals increased damage. This gets a little complicated. It really depends on what you want to do. We're going to be Radiant, and we're also going to be Amplified. If you can find a way, which you can with Prismatic, to gain Woven Mail, Frost Armor, or Void Overshield, do it. However, I'm leaning more into my grenade just because it's more crowd control, right? This is a crowd control center build. So that's what I want everyone to keep in mind. There are more offensive ways to make this, which I'm going to explain next in the fragments. So, Marksman, you cannot change. That's what you're running. Combination Blow, that's what you're running. You cannot change. Now, Duskfield can be swapped to really whatever you want to apply. This one, it can unravel. You have more mobility. Storm Grenade, Scorches, Shot Grenade. There's a way to jolt it with one of your fragments, so that's why you would run it. But I run Duskfield because it slows and freezes and, you know, good grenade. Meleeing a frozen target is more worthwhile than just throwing the grenades, right? Like throwing a shot grenade or throwing a swarm grenade. because whenever something is frozen, they take massive damage and they shatter. So that's just more AoE for you. So Stylus Executioner is going to be required. This is your best aspect for this build. Invisibility is just an insane aspect whenever you are always in melee range. Now, whenever you perform a Stylus Execution, your next melee attack while invisible weakens targets. So you are applying weakness. Here's where it gets a little different. Your second aspect you can change between Winter Shroud or Threaded Spectre. The differences, how much do you want to CC versus how aggressive do you want to be? If you're running Threaded Spectre, you're going to be running more aggressive. However, you're going to be a little bit more squishy, not because of stat difference, but because of CC difference. How your Winter Shroud works, right, is the first dodge slows, the second dodge freezes. However, if you can hit them into a Dustfield Grenade, that means you just throw your Dustfield Grenade to get 1 tick of slow, and then you Winter Shroud into them, they're frozen. Which, then you go back to Combination Blow, you deal a fuck ton of damage to frozen targets, which then shatters them, which does more damage, which they are affected by an elemental debuff, so you go invisible. So that's kind of the main loop. Now fragments, I'm really still testing. I think this is where I'm going to land in the end. It really depends on what grenade you're using, because you can run Facet of Bravery, and you can also run Facet of Dominance. That's where it kind of differs, because if you want to use, if you want to weaken, but you're already weakening with your Stylus Execution, so I don't think you should really worry about it. However, if you want to jolt and you want to run Threaded Spectre, I recommend switching one for Facet of Dominance, switching your grenade to Arc Bolt Grenade, switching Winter Shroud to Threaded Spectre, and that kind of leans into a more offensive, melee focused build, which is completely fine. Threaded Spectre is great. You spawn Threadlings, you do more damage, they unravel. It's a great build. I just prefer this one. So I'm running Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits against targets makes you radiant. Powered melee final blows make you and nearby allies radiant. This is the only prismatic fragment that I would actually swap, due to the fact that you already make yourself radiant by picking up Orbs of Power from the artifact. Now, I said earlier that artifact doesn't matter, because this is going to be the blueprint of the build. These 5 fragments are the blueprint. When you want to make this build and you want to change it up, start with these 5, lean into what you want to do, lean out of what you don't want to do, and then you can start changing. If you don't, next season, when we don't have this artifact, we can't pick up Orbs of Power to make this radiant, you're going to run Facet of Dawn. That's it. Facet of Protection, while surrounded by combatants, you're more resistant to incoming damage. While Transcendent, the effect is increased. You're in melee range 80% of the time. Why not take extra damage resistance? Picking up an Orb Power grants either Woven Mail, Amplified Restoration, Frost Armor, Woven Mail, Overshield based on the super type, based on the damage type of your equipped super. So that means we're getting, when we pick up an Orb of Power, we're getting Restoration and Radiant and Amplified off the bat. Facet of Purpose giving us Restoration is so much more powerful than people think, because this facet, this fragment could have just given us Radiant, which would be kind of lame, to be honest with you. And you might think, oh, how is that lame? You pick it, Orb of Power Radiant, it's in the artifact, it's broken, next season's gonna be fucking broken. Because we already get Radiant, we get Radiant from so many different things, right? Well is not bad to the fact that people are not running it ever. And when you run out of it, you're already Radiant. You do not need as much Radiant as people think. Also, Golden Gun is fucking bugged with Radiant, so it gives you your own type of Radiant. So Facet of Courage, your Arc, Solar, and Void abilities deal increased damage to targets afflicted with darkness debuffs. So this is where Winter Shroud comes in. Since Combination Blow is an arc-based melee, it is a light ability. That means your Combination Blow is going to deal increased damage to anyone affected with Dustfield Grenade or Winter Shroud. And this is where the synergistic stuff, starts to really, really snowball. And your last one is Facet of Hope. While you have an elemental buff, your class ability regenerates more quickly. This is the only fragment I'm kind of like, do we really need this? Do we really need this? because you have the infinite, we have 80 mobility. When does it stop, right? Where's the breakneck of you never needing this? So, in my opinion, if you were to change something, you can change Facet of Ruin to, you can change Facet of Hope to Facet of Ruin, Facet of Mending. However, this would mean you're changing your grenade. Facet of Blessing, because melee final blows start health regeneration. Actually, I think that's just better. I'm gonna be honest with you. I know I'm learning. I'm still learning Prismatic, guys, but this is pretty close to what everyone's gonna run. You know, all those big YouTubers, whatever, you know, Dado, Aztec Cross, Clyde, you know, Matix, they're all gonna land here on their hunter. I promise you. If they're not running the class item, that is. Class item's totally different story. This is what you're gonna run. You're gonna run Facet of Blessing, melee final blows start health regeneration. So you have health regeneration because you're close or because you kill something. You get radiant whenever you melee final blows. You get reduced incoming damage because you have the second fragment. And yeah, that's pretty much the build, guys. So if you guys have any questions, if you have any questions of how you could alter this into a different build or how you could change the fragments and aspects differently, let me know. I would love to help you guys out. I'm going to have a couple more videos coming this week. Please check out my TikTok, XR1KU. Check out my Twitch, XR1KU. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.